Hey guys, this is Anastasia, and this video is to kind of give you a little bit of background on a new, well, not a new practice that I'm going to be undertaking, but an evolution of a practice that I'm going to be undertaking. Um, so every full moon, it's pretty common for witches to give an offering. A lot of times we'll put our, well, okay, I don't like speaking for other people. What I do for the full moon is traditionally what I'll do is I'll put out my crystals in a moon bath or just out in the moon to cleanse, to charge, and then I'll also light a candle and light some incense. And this is a practice that has kind of evolved throughout my path. When I started it, it was a store-bought candle and store-bought incense. And then as I started to progress, it was homemade loose incense that I would make. And then a homemade candle that I would make. And then, even the making of the incense kind of changed. When I first did it, it was very up in the air, like, oh, I'm going to use lily because lily makes sense to me and rose makes sense to me. But then some weirder things would kind of get in there too that perhaps didn't ring true so well. Like if I felt, I know juniper for some reason went in there, and I know I've seen some associations where that does connect to the moon, but juniper berries especially, and still really not sure where that came from, but it was something that at the time I really felt strongly about, so that's what I would put in there. And then I started my correspondence seeker freakness, there it is, where nope, these are lunar herbs, flowers, resins, oils, what have you. These and only these are what I can use in this incense. And more recently, it's kind of been a merging of the two. Whereas before it would be like, oh, I kind of like this and I'm feeling kind of this, not really knowing where their correspondences lay. Now I have a base understanding of where correspondences are, and if I feel like, hey, cinnamon needs to go in this lunar blend, might not know why, it certainly doesn't mesh, it's not lunar, and it's in fact quite opposite of lunar, but some things tell me to put it in, I'm putting it in. And I find that's how my practice kind of seems to end up working as of late at least, where it's this wonderful blend of intuition and study. With that said, around Samhain, it kind of hit me that I needed to start really focusing on my offerings and really focus on ritualizing things a bit more. And the first thing I thought of was with the moon. Every full moon, as I'm sure many of you know, every full moon has its own specific name. It has its own specific correspondence. It has its own specific working. You can look up every culture, I feel like, has their name for it. Sometimes they'll mesh. Sometimes Native American name for the full moon is this, and so is the Celtic name for the full moon in that month, and so is the neo-paganism, and blah blah blah. I not to belittle anyone's path, but it's just there's so many names that are out there. And you can go out there. I would strongly suggest, if you want to get to know the moons a bit closer, do the research, see what names mesh with you, see which ones don't. For example, November's moon is the beaver moon, traditionally. A lot of cultures reflect that. I never really meshed well with it. I understood the idea behind it. I understood, beavers are in November getting ready for the winter, so they're running around getting their dens ready, this and that. It's that hard work you have to put in at the last push before winter sets in. But it just never really clicked. Then I found, I believe it's the Celtic name for the November moon is the dark moon. And I get that the dark moon is also 3 day moons, the 3 moons right before the new moon, the balsamic, I believe, phase, where a lot of beautiful crone energy comes through. But having it be the name for November's moon really clicked for me as well because it's the first moon in the dark of the year. It's when, especially in Minnesota, the shadows are here. It's cold, it's dank. Uh, we're starting to notice that the sun, even when it's out, it's not as warm, and the days are quicker, and it makes sense. You feel the shift after Samhain. You feel the shift to the dark. And so the first full moon after that, I think it makes perfect sense that it would be the dark moon. So although many people will look at the November moon and call it the beaver moon, and I'm totally cool with that, that makes sense, I will always refer to it as the dark moon. And it's a beautiful example where no one is wrong. It's just different resonations. It's what works for me, what works for you, what clicks with me, what clicks with you. So that is one thing I would strongly suggest, is going through and really studying and understanding the different names for the moons and finding what works. Heck, I've even heard people make up their own names for the moons. Dude, whatever works, go for it. But it kind of hit me because this is something I love. I love reading about the different attributes. Like every full moon, I would go on. I think it's Magical Recipes Online. Great site. Love it. I go on there and read. Okay, so these are the correspondences for this month's moon. And I get super excited and delve into them and see what I would feel comfortable maybe doing, kind of feeling my way in. And it hit me around Samhain, why don't I take those different attributes and add that to the incense I make? So what I'm going to begin doing, what I have begun doing with this January's moon, which is tomorrow, the, not the cold moon, that was December, the wolf moon. Oh, that's what my next video is going to be on, so I better not trip over that name. The wolf moon is January's full moon. And so I started this tradition with the Monday New Year. I don't know why, it's just when it seemed to click. And I will have my 9 lunar or full moon herbs, resins, spices, flowers, what have you. And then I add 4 items that connect to that specific name. So, for example, I'm not going to do the wolf moon because that's going to be my next video, where I'll go into deep depth on that. But for December, I wrote down the basis of what the cold moon would be. The cold moon is called that because you're dealing with the darkness now. Summer solstice, winter solstice is the longest night of the year. Things are definitely cold, things are definitely harsh, and you're having to deal with that. But in that same breath, through the longest night of the year, you have the rebirth of the sun. Energy is coming back. So it's a good time to kind of work up that energy, start to build it up, start to give the sun a bit more strength. So my thought was to have, your basic, here's the full moon blend, which are 9 items, and then have 4 items that would help with the solar energy. I think I chose orange peel, amber, cinnamon, and I think I did nutmeg. I may have done cloves. But those were what I was going to put in there. Because I find those are spices and fruits. Orange. That's what they do. They inspire me. They get me going. Resins, because amber is a resin. They warm me. They bring fire and passion and kind of get me amped and excited. So if I'm giving an offering that acknowledges not only the amazing power and beauty of the moon, but also acknowledging the season, acknowledging the month, acknowledging what's going on in nature around me, that's what I would want for December. Because we are trying to put that energy back into the universe and help the sun along in rebuilding his strength. So what better way than to pay honor to the moon and give her thanks for all of the gifts that she gives us, but also add a little bit of gift for the warmth and the comfort and the energy that's going to be coming our way and that we need. So, yeah, I hope that makes sense. Um, I don't know. I'm starting to feel like in my practice, and I know I've discussed this, especially with my witchy sister in arms, um, where I feel like I have a good base. I feel like I have a good foundation, but I feel like I talk myself out of taking that next step because I'm still feel like such a noob in so many ways. I don't know when I have time. I let challenges fall through the cracks. I let dedications kind of fall to the wayside. And and if I can't do that, then should I really be taking that next step on my path because I can't even do what I set before myself to do now? But I think that's where stagnation comes from. I think that's where complacency comes from. So when we have these moments of, I do this and this is really cool, but wouldn't it be great if I took this next step and tried doing this? It doesn't need to be much. It's 4 extra items that I'm putting into my incense. And because of that, I'm having to do more research because I have to find out what each moon name that corresponds with me personally because, that's like the beaver moon. It works for everyone else, but if it doesn't work with me, I'm not going to be able to craft to my optimal ability if I don't resonate with the name. I'm finding out what properties that specific moon has, what workings we should be doing, what energy I should be putting into this stuff. More so than just, oh my gosh, moon, you're beautiful. Goddess, you are so lovely. You need a little bit more oomph. You need a little bit more spirit and a bit more uh, specifications, I guess, added to it. And it's not that I guess what I'm putting forth is when we're on our path, whatever we give is always what we should be giving. I don't think there's ever, this isn't good enough or this isn't right enough. It's all about intent. It's all about what's in your heart. It's all about what's in your mind. Whatever you're putting into this action is what matters. But if you come to a point where you look at what you do and you go, I could do more, I should do more, and then on top of it get this idea of this is what I should do, no matter how much you may leave to the wayside in your path before, no matter how much you might let certain things fall through the cracks, that should never stop you from trying to do more. That should never stop you from sharing what you're doing if you feel called to share. Things that you say, no, that's just for me and the goddess, or me and the god, or me and whatever, don't share that. But if you feel called to share, if you feel called to express yourself, and you go, crap, I can't do that because if I do, what if I don't follow through? What if I fail? What if this doesn't work? What if someone else looks at this and goes, that's stupid? Don't ever be afraid to try. Don't ever be afraid to put yourself out there because you're being called to do it for some such a purpose. For me, it may be kind of silly to me that I'm getting super, super excited about making a moon incense every month that just has 4 extra ingredients and a little bit more research time. But I really am, because it resonates, because it's where I should be. And in saying all of this, I might go, oh my gosh, this is so stupid to get this excited over such a little thing. But I'm so excited because it's the right thing to do. It's where I'm being called to go. And once more, think about how much more my path is going to flourish and how much more I'm going to learn. Because once you take that first step, it's easier to take the next. So yeah, this was a bit of a ramble. I apologize. I just kind of wanted to put out there, hey, there's going to be a playlist with all these different lunar things on there, and this is why. And it kind of turned into a ramble about not letting fear get the best of you and not letting complacency win. So with that, blessed be.